The reason why I bring this up is because the third time I feel like there was a glitch in the Matrix is one night when I was out at a nightclub in Brisbane. This is in 2006. I was with some friends, a group of friends, and, we'd been drinking the same amount that, anyone on a reasonably early Saturday night would have had a few beers, etc. And a bouncer comes over and asks one of my friends to leave. He's too drunk. Now, I step in and say, well, why don't you let him just have a few waters or whatever, and, I'm sure he'll calm down. So then the bouncer turns to me and says, well, in that case, you're out, right? And then grabbed me.
As well or instead?
No, just instead. Grabs me by my arms, wrenches them behind my back, right? And starts taking me out. Now, anyone who's been in that situation, I've been arrested twice before, and this night included, right? If you've ever been put in that situation physically, your body is not built to be restrained or in pain, right? So when your arms are getting wrenched behind your back, you're struggling. So it turned into like a physical altercation. I wouldn't say that there were no punches thrown or anything like that. There was just like wrestling. I was trying to get out of his grip because guess what? It hurts.
To get out of pain.
Pain, that's it. So when people talk about, they're resisting arrest or whatever like that, they're resisting pain because it hurts. Whenever you get arrested, it hurts, right? And so the bouncer dragged me outside and then decided that he was going to do a citizen's arrest on me. Right, because I'd been trying to get out of his grip and we'd gotten into this sort of tussle.
Right,
he was then going to perform a citizen's arrest on me and wait for the police to arrive. Right now, during that time, he pinned me down. There was one guy on my back holding my legs up, like locking my legs up, and this bouncer had my chest on the ground and his arm into my neck, and my hands ripped right behind my back. And I remember I couldn't breathe. And I remember truly thinking, I'm going to die. And I couldn't talk or anything. I couldn't say anything. I was like, I'm actually going to die. And the next thing I know, I remember I was being tapped on the face by police officers. And I remember the bouncers and the police saying, we might need to get an ambulance, And then I remember I sort of woke up. But
so you passed out at the time,
I obviously passed out, and obviously all the thoughts that go through your head are part of that sort of panic and that worry and everything like that. But a little tiny bit of me, a tiny bit, the most sort of believing side of me, kind of thinks that I died that night. And I tell you what, a few months later, a young guy in Brisbane got pulled up by bouncers at the RE club in Toowong. And a very similar thing happened to him, and he did die due to forces placed on him by bouncers. And I think about how lucky I was because that really could have been me only a few months before. Now, those bouncers ended up 3 years later getting acquitted of what happened because
from the other incident.
Yeah, from the other incident because the guy that they did it to was deemed overweight, and had health problems, then in court, the judge supposed that it was likely he could have died anyway from just being overweight, having health problems, and therefore they couldn't say for sure that the restraints and the choking that the bouncers put on him in that moment caused him to die, right? So when I see the story like what happened over the weekend or, days before of George Floyd and what's going on, I get a really, I remember all of that. And I feel about how much it could have been me. Not, I know that mine's different because it wasn't police, despite the fact that the police officer that's been charged actually worked as a bouncer for 17 years part-time.
Yeah, right.
That sort of stuff. But it really hits me hard when I see that about how something so stupid, silly, and small can end up ending like this.
Did you feel any at the time? Did your mind go to racism at the time? Did you feel that there was any sort of indication that was part of your experience?
Yeah, I mean, look, there is I mean, this wasn't a police matter until the police actually arrested me. So this is not a police racism thing in my situation. But in terms of was I unfairly picked on? Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I've got a mouth on me, so I say things, but I also think that comes into play when it's like, well, certain people are even more offended if a brown person has a voice, you know? And so for me going, hey, why don't you just let him stay and have some waters, to, all right, well, you're going then, and then arms behind my back, yeah, I felt that was a bit unfair in that situation. Also, when I tried to ask the police to, you know, can we charge this bouncer and stuff for what he, basically assaulting me, lo and behold, the video footage from the security cameras had disappeared that night.
Is that the glitch? The Matrix? The security camera?
Maybe it was. But look, I know that we're going to talk about what's happening in the States. And I know that my story is not exactly the same, but what I can say is I feel a great deal of sympathy for anyone who's been in that situation. And there has been a lot of people, especially in Australia, this is not just an American problem. This situation has happened to many people in Australia as well. And it's worth just reading up about and educating yourself. And, you know, I'm not saying no one react however the way you see fit, but it's certainly a problem that is close to heart.